Today is going to be a fun video. I'm going to be making some, what for me is just like my production chef's knives. I've got some orders I've got to get through. Opened.
3 years ago, I made the decision to try bladesmithing full-time, and in that time, I've made 300 knives, possibly more. I've only counted the ones that I posted to my Instagram. And in this video, I want to share what my experience has been in turning what started out as a hobby and a passion into a business, and how I view the craft after that and what my plans are moving forward. And when I started my business 3 years ago, I was all of a sudden in the deep end of the pool with no idea how to swim. What I mean by that was all of a sudden I would show up and I would work, but I wouldn't necessarily get paid even though I was working.
This hammer is probably my favorite hammer. It got damaged in a fire that wrecked some of my other my other hammer handles. But this one, while it got pretty torched, it's still comfy, still fun to use. So it's pretty loose. The head's getting loose, so I will replace it at some point, but it's kind of neat.
Now, as obvious as that might sound to those of you listening, like, yeah, you started your own business. Of course you don't get paid just because you show up and work. You don't, or at least I didn't really understand the full reality of that until it was, frankly, a reality. And so it really was the best time. Looking back, my wife and I had conversations like, yeah, we've got no kids right now, we've got no big responsibilities, so if I'm ever going to pursue this full time and try to create a business out of this, now's the time to do it. The only problem was I didn't really know what that business would be. I was passionate about bladesmithing, blacksmithing, toolsmithing, kind of all of the above, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. I wasn't sure if I wanted to make axes and be an axe manufacturer, or if I wanted to make hunting knives or tactical or kitchen or swords, or should I take custom orders, or should I make 100 knives and go and try to sell them? It was all extremely overwhelming because on top of that, there was, just like I was saying, that pressure of whatever you do, it's got to turn into income for your family. So originally, my idea was, I'll start an axe manufacturing shop. There's not a lot of those around. There's a couple guys doing it, but I think there's some room there. I very quickly realized just how expensive it would be to get the tooling set up for this, though.
Before I get these quenched, I'm going to get the profile shapes ground in.
So with the looking into the true cost of a press and a power hammer, a shop space to put all of that, I thought, okay, maybe I should just press into knife making. Maybe I should just be a bladesmith. And that's where it all started. So with the need to bring in a paycheck as consistently as I possibly could, I started making knives as I had a couple orders. And my first 2 knife orders were from a guy I met when I was teaching blacksmithing, and they were 2 kitchen knives.
Got them profiled. Need to be straightened. Some of them really need to be straightened.
Those first 2 kitchen knives were Damascus chef's knives. One was like one of those big like Serbian cleavers or whatever they're called, and the other was just a traditional Santoku chef's knife. So they were really awesome, really fun, and it was the first time that I got to create something and pour all my creativity and energy into just making some really cool stuff, at least in a long time, because before I started this business, I was full-time teaching in blacksmithing, bladesmithing, and welding. I'm going to take a little break from my story and just talk about what I've been doing up to this point. I forged all 3 knives, heat treated them, and there's a short window to correct any warps. Sometimes this happens.
Dang.
Even after making 300 plus knives, you can still screw up. So I got a little complacent there and snapped one of my 3.
Oh, definitely nervous on this one now. Definitely warped. I'm just gonna do a little bit and do the rest with a torch. Because I can't snap 2 blades, can't lose 2 blades in one day.
I'm pretty thankful to say that this is not a super common experience for me. I think I could count on one hand the number of knives that I've snapped correcting and straightening.
This grain is perfect. I mean, you literally could not get better than that.
There's really not much to do but just move on. So I grabbed another piece of steel. Thankfully, I cut 4 blanks out. I only needed to make 3 knives, but I ended up using the 4th anyways and got it forged out pretty quickly and right back into the mix. Also got to get a little bit more forging footage, which I guess isn't a bad thing. This was kind of a speed run to get this knife done. I wanted to get all the knives home at the same time, to temper at the same time, because it kind of stinks up the home oven, so I want to get it all done at once. Got it through all the normalizing cycles, and I'm ready to get it heat treated and also get back to what I was saying before.
Whoa, that was crazy. What was that? Holy crap, it warped way worse than the other one. This is making me so nervous. The blade's not too bad, but the tang is crazy. And I'm gonna leave it and fix it with the torch. All right, got the last one forged out, quenched now. Now I have 3 again. It was a huge bummer to lose the one, but yeah, I guess it was kind of like a reminder that you got to be careful. Even if you've done something 100 times, you can still screw it up. So definitely got a little complacent. I've made like, I don't even know how many knives now, hundreds of knives, hundreds of production kitchen knives, and confidently straightened a bunch post-quench like that. But I learned my lesson this time, not to push it too far. I will say I'm incredibly confident in the heat treat now because this is the tightest grain I've ever seen. I mean, it doesn't even look like there is grain. It's freaking amazing. So, happy with that part. Let me know what you guys think I should do with this failed blade. That would be a huge bummer if I snapped it. That's as far as I am willing to take it. And that did it. Thank goodness that did it. Oh, nice. That looks perfect. Just had to be a man and heat it up more and bend it further.
So those first few orders were really exciting. I've got to not only do work that I was really excited about doing, but I also got to get paid to do it. And that energy and excitement lasted for quite a while. And I was learning how to price my work, how to ask for what it was worth, how to even understand how do I value this and how do I communicate that to the client. And also I learned that it's okay if people don't get it. And I learned that I'm not the kind of person who wants to convince you, no, you're wrong, this is worth this much money. Like, if somebody told me like, whoa, that's way too much money for a knife, I'd be like, yeah, it is actually a lot of money for a knife. I totally get that. And I'd leave it alone because the last thing I want to do is convince somebody and make them feel like they've been sold. So I really only sold to people who got it.
I forgot to film, I'll call it a bolster, which I guess it is, but it's made out of black wood, not like some sort of non-ferrous metal or steel or anything. It's basically just carved so that the shoulders of the blade sit just inside. I can't pop it off right now, it's too tight. And now I'm gonna lay out and mark out my lines to drill a handle, which is desert ironwood. Desert ironwood is the ultimate kitchen knife handle material. Kind of ultimate any kind of knife handle material, in my opinion.
Now, as time went on and I got more and more orders, and it wasn't like orders were just flowing in. There was huge highs and very, very high highs, very low lows as far as orders and income would go. We ended up burning through our savings like crazy, because what you don't think about as a craftsman who's starting a business all about his craft is that you not only have to make everything that you sell, you also have to sell everything. You have to be the one who markets and creates the relationships with potential and future clients. And that all takes a lot of time. It's not something you can do overnight. And the way I was going about it, where I wasn't trying to convince people, I was trying to meet the right people, is frankly just a slow process. And in that process, I learned a lot of hard lessons. A lot of hard lessons on, you've got to kind of keep your hopper full. You've got to, that marketing effort and that relationship building, you have to put just as much time into it. And that's one of the biggest challenges of doing a craft as a business.
Sick. So yeah, not a super tight fit, but I'm not worried about that. This is going to get filled up with epoxy, so I'll show you guys that now.
I think that leads into another one of the challenges that I started to experience and face, and that was you've got to create work. You've got to find the balance between quality, efficiency, and creativity. These little holes are going to give my epoxy a place to flow through when it's inside of here. Just an extra thing to bite onto. And then I also will drill a hole and put a pin through when this is cured. And how much mental effort I could put into each one of those buckets, so to speak, really depended on the kind of clients I had. And I also wasn't necessarily, my skill wasn't at the level where I could just charge whatever I want and sell to like the super high-end collectors, because my work just wasn't at that level yet. So I had to recognize really where my skill level was at, where my work actually was, and who was that clientele. That ended up leading me, and through, like I said before, like word of mouth, like my community really came around my wife and I and my business in these past several years, and had so much support locally. So as much as I really love social media, and I found some amazing clients and connected to some awesome people through social media, I was also had major support from my local community. And one of those being friends with a couple real estate agents, and one of them had this idea like, oh, I could give your knives as closing gifts. And so I started making knives as something he would buy and give as closing gifts. And that meant I was making 10 knives at once, which when you're doing that, you've got to get that work done and find that balance. I had to find that balance of like, okay, how creative do I get? How do I stay efficient and profitable? And then also deliver a quality product.
That's good. Now I can leave this be until the epoxy is cured. I feel like one of those cooking shows where they like do something and they're like, now it's got to sit for like 4 or 5 hours. But then they're immediately on to the next step because they prepared a second one beforehand. I did that too. Last night, I glued up the first 2. Whoop! So now I can just move straight into doing the handles without having to wait. Well, at least these 2.
And that, along with, through social media, meeting some other customers or clients who were more interested in buying in bulk and at a discount or at a wholesale price, I started doing a lot more business on that side of the spectrum, I guess. And this presented a couple challenges to me, and one of them was all of a sudden I was working insanely hard to get these projects done. Working long hours in the shop, staying late, barely getting the knives done in time to have any profit left. Realizing, oh, maybe I didn't price these as high as I should have. And it was a real challenge. It really challenged me in questioning, why am I doing this? And I'd say about a year and a half in, I really started to ask that question, like, is this what I want to do with bladesmithing? Is this how I want to do it? Do I want to turn it into this thing that's all about efficiency and productivity and bottom line profit? Or does it need to be something else? Does it need to go back to that place of, oh, this is a really sweet outlet, and if it sells, great. But if it doesn't, that's okay. This was a serious question I started asking myself around then. Handles are shaped really nicely. I love how they feel. But I've made a decent mistake. I wanted to drill a pinhole through, and I should have done that when it was square. Now I gotta do it when it's round. I accidentally buried my mic in my hoodie, and you can't hear what I'm saying, but I was just saying I got the pins through, and I needed to mix up some more black epoxy to get them glued in. Although I didn't necessarily love what I was doing with the craft during the season where I was making production chef's knives and trying to be efficient, I did learn a whole lot about how to be productive and how to be efficient and how to be profitable. Again, my mic is buried in my hoodie pocket and I don't realize it. It's not picking up any sound. But I'm pretty darn happy with my work, and I'm moving on to the next thing, which is getting the handles finished to a high grit. I tried a little experiment, and this was something I did a lot over the past few years and will probably forever continue to do, and that's just try new things. And so what I did, sometimes when I'm sharpening, oftentimes I flip my last high grit belt inside out, load it with compound, and I can strop my blades and get them razor sharp super fast. So I thought maybe I could do the same thing on the wood and get it super polished. But it didn't necessarily work. It loaded it up with the compound, and it's hard to see on the camera, but it looks bad. So I ended up sanding that all off and getting them all sanded up to an 800 grit satin finish, which I think looked a lot better. Now, something I learned too is that the little details, like I was just carving off that sharp corner, those little details really go a long way. Your client is going to notice those things. They're going to notice if you finished out the sharp little corner, or is that going to catch their finger every single time they use the knife. So as much as I wasn't necessarily totally sure that, oh, this is what I want to do with the craft, is just be like a production machine, I did learn a lot of really good lessons. Like, your clients will pay attention to those small details, and if you can get every little thing they could possibly notice done before you hand it to them, you're going to have really happy clients. Now, like I said, this business really has been a roller coaster. Financially, it's been a roller coaster. Emotionally, it's been a roller coaster. And while I do believe it is possible to create a profitable bladesmithing business, I think for myself, that's not what I want to do with the craft. And while I could continue to push and press and honestly pull my amazing and patient wife through a lot more difficulty, I don't think for me it's worth it. I think I would much rather return this craft to a place where I can push the boundaries of my own skill and creativity and not tie it up in, oh my gosh, this has to sell or I don't eat this month. I think for me, that's just a much better spot for bladesmithing to be, and a spot I have a lot more peace with. So this video was really just to give an insight into what my bladesmithing business has looked like and what a day or week, I should say, of producing production quality chef's knives looks like. It's been an amazing time, but it's definitely time to close that chapter. And so what you can expect to see is a lot more epic, cool projects, but maybe not quite as many. And you can expect to see more unique projects from me. Not just kitchen knives, although I'm passionate about kitchen knives and I'll continue to make them. But I'm really excited and hopeful about the next stage of my bladesmithing journey. And I also want to share my passion and everything I've learned and continue to learn. So if you're interested in bladesmithing, I've got a school, SKOOL, community where I'm teaching everything I know about bladesmithing, everything I'm learning. It's completely free to join. And if you go sign up, become part of that community of like-minded smiths who are all passionate about getting better, there's also courses available if you want to take your learning deeper and up your skills just a little bit more. So if you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate it. Expect more cool stuff to come. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you guys in the next video. For now, just enjoy some chopping and pictures of the finished blades.